Hey guys, welcome back to episode 19 of US Stock Market Technical Analysis. In this video, I'll be sharing with you my technical insights for the US stock market, specifically the S&P 500, the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq. As I'm filming this video, we have just entered the month of April. This means that we have already seen the first quarter of 2021. So let's take a look at how the individual indexes have performed over this first quarter. We'll begin with the S&P 500. So over here, we started the year at this candlestick over here. And right now, as of the filming of this video, the S&P 500 has actually just made a new high at $400. So the year-to-date performance for the S&P 500 is 6.75%. And for the Dow Jones, let's take a look at how the Dow Jones have performed for the first quarter of 2021. We open over here, and on the 1st of April, we close at around this level over here. The Dow Jones is up by 8.27% for the first quarter of 2021. And for the Nasdaq, let's take a look at the Nasdaq. And we start off over at this candlestick over here. And right now we are at this closing price of around $324. For the first quarter of 2021, the Nasdaq is up by about 3.07%. So despite the volatility that we have seen in the market so far this year, the US stock market as a whole has increased in the first quarter of 2021. But as we have seen for the individual indexes, certain indexes have performed better than others. The Dow Jones have outperformed both the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. And this has been the story so far for this year in 2021. The Dow Jones and value stocks have outperformed the Nasdaq and the growth stocks. And this is a reversal of what we have seen in 2020. Because in 2020, the Nasdaq and the growth stocks have generally outperformed the rest of the market, including the Dow Jones. Whether the Dow Jones will continue to outperform the rest of the indexes remains to be seen. But as of the first quarter of 2021, the Dow Jones is currently leading the way. That's a quick performance review of the three indexes, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq. Now we'll take a deeper look into the individual indexes, beginning with the S&P 500. So let's clear the technicals first. We have seen some volatility in the S&P 500 in 2021. But as we have seen earlier, the year-to-date performance for the S&P 500 is still in positive territory. In fact, back on Thursday's sessions, the S&P 500 actually made a new high at $400. So despite the headlines that we have seen in the news recently about the rising interest rates and yield that might have a potential effect on the stock market as a whole has still performed relatively well so far this year. And if we take a look at the chart for the S&P 500, we are on an uptrend, because the S&P 500 is making higher lows and higher highs. If we compare the lows, here was one low, this was another low, and this was another low over here. That for every subsequent lows, if we compare this low to this low is higher than this low. And if we compare this low to this low was higher than this low. So prices for the S&P 500 were making higher lows. And if we compare the highs, this was one high, this was another high, and this was another high. And similarly for the highs, we see that for every subsequent highs, the S&P 500 is making higher highs. When the S&P 500 is making higher lows and higher highs, we say that the S&P 500 is on an uptrend. In addition to the clear uptrend that the S&P 500 is on, the S&P 500 has also just recently made a new high. All these points for the S&P 500 that the line of least resistance is upwards. Okay, now let's take a look at the 1 hour time frame for the S&P 500. We'll zoom out a bit over here. The previous high that the S&P 500 made was at this point over here, so at a price level of around $398. You can see prices reaching close to this price level and then it bounced back down. It reached close to this level and it bounced back down again. And then over here, we see another time it reached close to this level and it bounced back down over here. We know that this price level of around $398 is a resistance level for prices, because prices have tested that level and prices did not manage to break beyond that level. But if we zoom in over here, on Thursday's session, which is the 1st of April 2021, the S&P 500 managed to break beyond this resistance level over here. And throughout the trading session, the S&P 500 has continued to move higher. And in fact, the S&P 500 managed to close above the 400 level. The line of least resistance for the S&P 500 is up. But with that said, if we see over here, the S&P 500 is a bit overextended right now, based on the 1 hour time frame. When the market next open on Monday, there's a high probability that the market might move sideways for a while, and once there's sufficient time for the S&P 500 to digest the move, then because the line of least resistance is upwards, the S&P 500 will continue its rise. In fact, I'm not surprised if the S&P 500 might fall a bit over here before it continues its movement to the upside. If the S&P 500 retraces and falls a bit, for its bullish momentum to remain intact, I want to see the S&P 500 still closing above this price level of around $398. So even though the S&P 500 might fall and retrace a bit, I want to see the decline or retracement of prices to be still above the $398 level. If prices for the S&P 500 declines and retraces and still is above the price level of $398, this gives me the confidence that the bullish momentum still remains intact for the S&P 500. So that is what I'm looking out for the S&P 500 in the next coming trading sessions. So we'll go on to the Dow Jones. We'll go on to the daily time frame, and then we'll remove the technicals. The Dow Jones has been the best performing index in the US stock market so far for this first quarter of 2021. The Dow Jones started the year with a bit of a hiccup over here, but from early February on, the Dow Jones has been just steadily increasing over the past few months. The Dow Jones is up by about 8% in the first quarter of 2021. And for the Dow Jones from February, we see that the Dow Jones is also making higher lows over here. So this was a low, and this low was higher than this low. And then this was another low over here, and this low was higher than this low over here. And if we take a look at the highs, this was high, and then this was another high, and the Dow Jones was making higher highs and higher lows. But recently, the Dow Jones have encountered a bit of a resistance over at this price level of around $332. And this resistance level is proving to be quite a strong one, because if we see over here, at this price level, there was a very clear price rejection of prices at this level over here. So prices reached an intraday high at this point over here before prices were rejected and it closed all the way back down at this price level over here. For 4 trading sessions, the Dow Jones have not managed to break above that price level of $332. Let's go on to the 1 hour time frame to see how prices are reacting to this resistance level. We see the first point where prices were rejected at this resistance level, and then prices fell back down to here before prices managed to find support at this price level of around $321, and then it charged up very fast before prices encountered a resistance over here. So if you take a look at this candlestick over here, there was very clear price rejection at this price level of $332. After prices rejected from this level, prices managed to find support at this price level of around $330. So on the 1 hour time frame, we see prices trading in this range of between $330 and $332. We have been ranging sideways. And with most ranges, we want to see where prices break out from. So if prices manage to break above the resistance and find support at this area over here, then it's likely that prices will continue to move upwards. But if prices break below the support level, and then it did not manage to break above the previous support level, then prices are likely to continue to the downside. So on the 1 hour time frame for the Dow Jones, I'm paying attention to where the Dow Jones breaks out from. And where the Dow Jones breaks out from will give a clearer indication of where the line of least resistance is for the Dow Jones on the 1 hour time frame. Now, let's take a look at the Nasdaq. We'll go on to the daily time frame, and we'll clear the technicals. If we compare the year-to-date charts for the Nasdaq, the Dow Jones, and the S&P 500, it is very clear that the Nasdaq has been lagging behind the other 2 indexes. In the past few weeks and months, we have seen that the Nasdaq was the most susceptible to the increase in interest rates and yields. And that is because the Nasdaq comprises of a higher percentage of growth stocks. And because the valuations of these growth stocks is based on cash flows which are longer in duration, these growth stocks have been the most affected by the increase in rates and yields. And that is why we have seen that the Nasdaq has been lagging behind the other 2 indexes. We had this relatively large decline and retracement of the Nasdaq. And since then, the Nasdaq has rebounded quite a fair bit over here. But the Nasdaq is still some way off its peak. And so far, even though the Nasdaq has been making higher lows, the Nasdaq hasn't made higher highs. Because if we take a look at the current price of the Nasdaq, which is at around $324, it still hasn't cleared the high that prices formed back over here. So for the Nasdaq to reverse back into a short-term uptrend, I'm paying attention to whether the Nasdaq is able to form a higher high in the next coming trading sessions. Let's go on to the 1 hour time frame to have a better picture of what's going on. Right now, prices are over here for the Nasdaq. This price level of around $325 is a strong resistance level at the 1 hour time frame. Because if we take a look at the left side of the chart, over here, we see a price rejection, and over here we also see another price rejection. So when the market next opens, the Nasdaq might face quite a bit of resistance at this price level of $325. If the resistance holds strong, then the Nasdaq might decline a bit. But if the Nasdaq do declines, the next level of support that I'm paying attention for the Nasdaq is this price level of around $320. But if the bulls manage to win the best in the coming trading sessions for the Nasdaq, then the next level of resistance that I'll be taking a look at is this price level of around $329. That's my technical analysis for the US stock market. If you have learned something from this video, smash that like button because it will really help the channel grow and allow me to produce more content such as this. And if you are new to this channel and haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to my channel because each week I release new videos about investing, trading, and the stock market. I'll see you in those other videos to your financial success.